is not political. This is a human issue. We're here to tell our stories, ones largely ignored and silenced, and we hope that you listen, and we hope that you ask questions. I am a wife and a mom, and I'm a preschool teacher. I suffered a life-altering reaction to my COVID vaccine on November 4th, 2020, almost a year ago to this day. I suffered a cascade of neurological symptoms that persisted for months. And while my life has improved, I still feel like I'm being electrocuted 24/7. For the first several months, I was totally alone. I kept my symptoms and my story completely to myself. I thought that this was an isolated incident. But in the spring, I started finding more and more like me. And before we knew it, there were thousands of us, all of us unable to receive medical care, recognition, either from the drug companies, the CDC, the FDA. We all suffered the same constellation of symptoms, which is very strange. It's a brand new disease. Nobody knew anything about this. We had it happen with all of the brands. Over 70% of us had had no previous existing health condition. Over 94% of us have not had any problem with any previous vaccine. 98% of us have had all of our previous vaccines. The vast majority of us even having our flu vaccines. We are not anti-vax. Also, because the CDC and FDA continued to ignore our pleas, our begging, we decided we needed to act because we started to see this happen to kids like Maddie. So from our sick beds, we sprang into action. We reached out to our elected representatives, both blue and red. We reached out to the COVID committee. We reached out to all of the representatives on the Health and Education Committee. If you have an elected representative in your state, they have heard from us. We also have been to the NIH. I myself was one of those lucky few to be able to go. We participated in studies across the country with very well-accomplished academics from reputable research institutions. None of them can get their research published. They go journal after journal after journal, being turned down one after the next after the next. We then reached out to the media, being repeatedly told that we can't make the vaccines look bad. We reached out to our major health organizations like the AMA. We reached out to our state health boards, our state health departments, all of them persisting in the narrative that if this was really happening, the CDC and the FDA would have said so. We are completely on our own. All we have is each other. We've been branded as anti-vax. Misinformation. 24 hours after Senator Johnson hosted our last conference, we had our Facebook support groups pulled apart. I lost contact with 8 actively suicidal people, just like that. So, after months of isolation, aggressive suppression, we began to connect with others, compassionate and concerned citizens, academics, physicians. They see the harms and they see what is happening to the injured and the lack of transparency in the race to vaccinate the world. We need the CDC to acknowledge us. A very simple act would change everything for the sick and suffering. We also need to just begin the conversation. This will lead to real healing for the injured, for appropriate and objective review of the science, to establish an environment for open dialogue, so ultimately we will be able to make rational and fully informed policies and decisions. Thank you so much for your time.